they're making it into a movie, which I think is going to be interesting. And I think if they market it right and if they cast it right, could be a huge hit because the zombie thing is obviously big. I mean, The Walking Dead is one of the highest rated programs on cable, I believe, and
Might even get some guys to see this one.
yeah, you might get some guys to willingly go see this. It looks like they cast Lily James from Downton Abbey, which I know is a wildly popular show, and I've never seen it, but I know people who love it, and Sam Riley, who was in Maleficent, and they're going to play Elizabeth Bennet and Fitzwilliam Darcy, respectively, and Matt Smith as Mr. Collins. And if you aren't familiar with the book, I've read the book like Katrina. I know who all these characters are. So it looks like they're also casting Game of Thrones Lena Headey and Charles Dance as unnamed roles yet. So
Wow,
it's
that is
going
a strong
to be
cast.
that is a strong cast, and it's gone through a couple of changes. The script had been written by director David O. Russell, but Steers. It's going to be directed by. Let me make sure I get his name right. Director Bert Steers of Igby Goes Down, and he rewrote the script to sort of play up the role of Darcy and George Wickham, another character who'll be played by Jack Houston of Boardwalk Empire. So these are respectable, solid actors, not huge megastar names, but it's a solid cast.
That is.
Jack Houston?
Yeah, Boardwalk Empire. He's also been in a couple other things.
Yeah. So I think it could be very, very interesting. So that's coming up in the entertainment world. And
Rom-com zom. It's a genre you don't want to miss.
yes, and that it started, I think, with one of my actual favorite zombie movies because it's more of a comedy than the zombie movie. That's Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah,
with Simon Pegg and I believe it's Nick Frost.
Nick Frost.
And if you haven't seen that, I think it's excellent. It's funny. It does have a bit of gore in it, but it's witty and clever. It's a British film, so it does sometimes have the British sense of humor.
It's an awesome film.
It's a good
film. It is, yeah.
Sorry, Philip.
So yeah, sorry, Philip. That's sorry, Philip. Is one of the funniest things from that movie, and then it's just got some really great, clever sequences. There's a sequence when Sean figures out what's going on, and he does it by flipping through news stations, and everything that they say kind of explains the story of the zombie apocalypse, and it's a really clever scene. And yeah, it's one of my favorites. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it too. And Pride and Prejudice and Zombies will be coming out sometime in the next year, so if that's your thing, go see it. I will probably make a point of going to see it just because I think it'll be interesting. And if I do, I will definitely come back and give you a review on it.
What was that other really great comedy, the zombie comedy? Oh, Zombieland. Did you guys see that one?
Zombieland, yes.
Oh,
I did
so good.
That was
that
a really
part.
good one.
The part was like, he just gets me. That made me happy.
I thought because it shows one of my favorite young actresses, Abigail Breslin, who I first saw in Little Miss Sunshine, taking on another role and showing that she can continue to act.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Woody Harrelson was funny in that and clever, and his endless search for Twinkies was so amusing.
And of course, Bill Murray.
And Bill Murray played a guest.
That was the he gets me bit. Yeah, I loved the Bill Murray.
Yeah, I loved the Bill Murray cameo in the movie. But yeah, so that's another one that if you haven't seen, it's funny. It's a little bit darker, I think, than Shaun of the Dead, but still worth your time if you're into the zombie genre. So yes, rom-com zom. It's a whole new genre of film.
Rom-com zom.
Rom-com zom. And it rolls off the tongue once you get the rhythm down. And so yeah, so that's kind of the world of entertainment, something a little bit different than all the political stuff all the time. And
what are they gonna call vampire action films? Vamp action?
Vampac films.
Vamption. It'll be Vamption.
Vamption work. Vampac works. Although that sounds like a produce company of some kind.
Well, livestock at least, for
This is
Yeah,
vampires.
well, and I believe the writer of Pride and Prejudice and Zombies was also the one who wrote Abraham Lincoln's Vampire Killer or Vampire
Yeah.
Slayer.
Which
So
was amazing
this isn't.
book, and I thought not so great of a movie. Like it did, but it wasn't as awesome as the book. I felt I was
You
disappointed.
actually saw it?
I got like halfway through it, and then I was kind of like, yeah, I just like the book was fantastic. Like it was super into like Lincoln's background and like melded it in with the vampire stuff long term, and I was just digging it the entire time. But the movie kind of lost me somewhere in the middle. I was just sort of like, yeah, I got it. Okay, yeah, Lincoln. All right, action scene. It just actually the action is what threw me off because the backstory was so amazingly written by Seth that I just like when it was just sort of a gore movie, I was sorely disappointed. I realize some people are into that, but not. Oh, this is like the same. This we're talking about the zombie TV show earlier, and people are like, "Oh, it's too much." Who was it? Cranky T Rex is just like, "No, too much backstory. Kill the zombies." Like, I guess that's me being girly. I'm like, but I like the backstory.
Backstories are
it's
fun.
what the backstory. I mean, it's what ultimately is going to drive the show because you have to care about the characters because they could butcher a million zombies, and if you don't give a crap if they get their face eaten off or not, you're not going to watch the show. And I think people are so drawn. I know for me with The Walking Dead, the storyline, and again, spoiler alert, from season 4, there were two sisters, Lizzie and Mika, who take up with two of the adult survivors. And Lizzie has some issues. She doesn't see the walkers as a threat, and she tries to keep one as a pet, essentially, and she tries to play tag with another walker. And eventually she ends up, again, spoiler alert, slitting Mika's throat, her sister's throat, in the hopes to reanimate her because she doesn't see that the zombies are harmful. And that storyline, as a mom,
that's disturbing.
It gets even more disturbing because Carol, the woman that she's traveling with, they decide that Lizzie is too dangerous, and Carol ends up killing Lizzie, and they bury them and move on because they also have with them the infant daughter of the main character, Rick Grimes, and Lizzie was going to do the same thing to Judith, the baby. So that was unbelievably gut-wrenching. At any scene where Judith is involved and something could happen to her, because she's about the same age as my youngest, and Lizzie and Mika are about the age of my other sons, it gets you. It speaks to me more than some of the other stuff that's going on in the show, because I see it as the eyes of a mom, and it's
so awful.
brutal. Yeah, it's
okay. So
brutal.
now I don't want to ever watch this.
Well, now that you know it is coming, you can skip over that one episode, because the nice part is the plot lines continue over several episodes, but there are things that happen, and it doesn't take 3 episodes to spell it out. It's one episode, and then they move on from it, so they don't linger with it. But when it happens, you're just like, wow. And they go there, and they're not afraid to, and they show the brutality of what it's like. So,
oof. All right, can I make one more zombie comment before
Of course.
I even warned Amy. I was like, if we're going to talk about zombie stuff, I have to comment on World War Z, which was another zombie movie that was a fantastic, amazing book. And then I don't even know what happened with the movie.
Brad Pitt happened.
I don't even right, Taylor?
Did you say Brad Pitt happened?
Brad Pitt happened.
I had trouble with when they hit Jerusalem. The Israelis would have firebombed the hell out of them.
Well, okay. Well, are you familiar, Dave? Are you familiar with the book? Did you read it or know about it?
I know about the book.
It was brilliantly done. They weaved a bunch of different stories together, and it was so cool. But
Mel Brooks' son made well.
Know
that about the author.
He's Mel Brooks' son of World War Z.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the author of World War Z
that
is
just
Mel
made
Brooks'
it
son.
so much better. I love Mel Brooks. That's fantastic.
I have not read the book World War Z. I have seen the movie, and as zombie movies go, it's your run-of-the-mill zombie movie, but I will have to read the book. I put up in the chat room a link to that I sent to you, Katrina.
Oh, yeah, that was so good.
The Israelis would have used napalm.
Yeah,
I think you're right. No. But the book was brilliant, and the movie was like, I guess if they had just made a different zombie movie and just called it like, I don't know, zombie movie for 2013, then I would have been like, okay, fine. But they called it World War Z, and it wasn't like that, and that was disappointing.
Yeah, it seems, according to what I have read and what we've talked about, that it deviated wildly from...
I don't even think it had the same flavor as the book. The book was such a cool, like, mosaic of people and stories, and beautifully, like, from all around the world and different levels of society, and how it affected, you know, people in the military and leaders, and how it affected, you know, people that were normal, and just, it was so cool. Mm-hmm. And then
guess what?
Scientists, whatever.
Guess what? They're making a sequel to the movie.
No.
Yes.
Of course they are.
No, I'm offended. This is the most horrible thing anyone's told me all day, Taylor. And I heard from immigration today, so that's really bad.
Wow.
Juan
Antonio Bayona will direct it, while Stephen Knight will write the script.
What? I don't even... No. All right. Let's move on. Amy, I have to tell you how to run your show. Move on. We're done with this topic.
So, okay. Well, Katrina is zombied out, and Taylor has given her some very devastating news about World War Z.
Arg. That's my favorite zombie.
Let's talk about hackers.
Yeah, well, we are getting to the bottom of the hour. When we come back from that, I want to talk a little bit about the Green Bay Packers, and then we have some more serious topics for the second half of the show, talking about Syria and the United Nations, and a death row case out of Texas that's had some developments today. But we have to get ready to take our break here at the bottom of the hour, so stick around for the next 3 or 4 minutes, and when we come back to the Modern Comments radio show after the break, we'll pick up on those topics.
Nobody got the joke that I made about the fact that we had... that I did the mutant enemy joke, the Gur Arg.
I didn't catch.
Oh, is that from Joss Whedon?
Yes, that's from.
Joss I thought you were talking about Gur for a minute, like
no
Gur from Invader Z.
Well, Invader Zim. No, if I were
Invader Zim. Wow, I'm tired.
If I were going to talk about that, it would be I want tacos. I want tacos, or I'm going to explode. That happens sometimes.
No, Gur Arg. That's Joss Whedon from Joss Whedon's production company.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear the joke, so I apologize.
And with that, we're going to break. We'll be back after this. This is Modern Comments with Amy Curtis, Dave, Katrina Jurgensen. I almost called you Rice. I don't know why.
Shame.
I know. And me, Taylor Millard. We'll be right back.
Ho, ho, ho! Santa Claus here! Holidays got you down? Wishing you could just get away from them for a while? Well, join my buddy Steve Long on Liberty Unfiltered Radio, Wednesday nights on Vigilant Liberty Radio. Tune in and there won't be any coal in your stocking this year. Ho, ho, ho!
This is Vigilant Liberty Radio news from Independent Journal Review for December 3rd. The city of Detroit, struggling to recover from severe economic difficulties, was hit with a massive power outage Tuesday. The outage spread from the Joe Louis Arena, home of the Detroit Red Wings, to Wayne State University, and was likely caused by a cable failure. This is not the first massive power outage the city has experienced. It had similar issues in July of this year and back in September of 2013. Schools, jails, traffic lights, and government buildings all lost power. Schools are currently following a half-day dismissal schedule, and power is being slowly restored to the city. Many areas remained in the dark into Tuesday evening. President Obama has called for $75 million to equip police officers with body cameras in the wake of the grand jury decision in Ferguson, Missouri. Meant to record interaction between citizens and officers, the cameras are part of the Obama administration's 3-year, $236 million plan to train police officers and update equipment in their departments. State and local governments will be responsible for paying for the other half of the camera costs. Coca-Cola has pulled its milk campaign ads for its lactose-free milk product Fairlife after receiving criticism that the images were outdated,